Chapter 9, Bitcoin Frontier. Complete trust requires complete transparency. The question is, how much of yourself are you willing to reveal? Paul Ferguson, Chief Justice. Bitcoin Republic. The Heart of Trust. Marcus Chen stood at the observation deck of the San Salvador anchorage, the vast meeting complex anchored at the top of the space elevator. 36,000 kilometers below, the Bitcoin Republic's earthbound capital lay hidden in the curve of Central America, while the gleaming structures of L5, its spacefaring twin, were just visible as bright points against the black of space. Here at the anchorage, where Earth's old money met the new frontiers of trust, digital streams of arbitration and verification flowed constantly between the two poles of the Republic. The anchorage wasn't merely a station, but a statement. Its architecture a physical manifestation of the Bitcoin Republic's philosophy. Transparent materials revealed the inner workings of energy transfer systems, while the quantum encryption arrays that safeguarded the blockchain were displayed prominently behind crystal walls, transforming security into spectacle. Nothing was hidden, everything was verified. The building itself was a ledger written in steel, glass, and light. Quite a view, isn't it? Paul Ferguson's voice carried the weight of centuries. The Chief Justice of the Bitcoin Republic approached quietly, his lined face reflecting both age and the burden of his position. Unlike most in this post-singularity age, Ferguson had chosen limited life extension, preferring to age naturally while maintaining peak cognitive function. His weathered appearance stood in stark contrast to the timeless perfection of his avatar, Satoshi, who hovered nearby, ethereal yet unmistakably present. "No," Chen agreed, turning to face the man who had transformed Bitcoin from a mere currency into civilization's most sophisticated trust framework. "I'm here to understand the hierarchy, the whole system of trust levels, privacy tiers, arbitration standards, the eternal dance between transparency and privacy," Ferguson finished, smiling slightly. He gestured, and a holographic display materialized between them, showing a pyramidal structure of glowing tiers. "Tell me, Marcus, in your research, what's the most common misconception about our system?" Chen considered carefully. "That it requires everyone to be completely transparent. That trust means sacrificing all privacy." "Exactly." Ferguson's hand passed through the hologram, highlighting different levels. "That's true only at the apex, what we call absolute trust. But look at these other tiers. Each one represents a different balance between privacy and verification. People choose the level that suits their needs. But the highest level of trust requires complete transparency, yes. Our Uber notaries, the juridical elite who handle the most sensitive arbitrations, operate at that level. Their lives are open books, every thought and action recorded on the blockchain." Ferguson's expression grew thoughtful. "I operate at that level myself. Had to, really, to serve as Chief Justice." The hologram shifted, showing streams of data flowing between tiers. Chen watched, fascinated. "And the lower levels?" "The evolution of trust." "Start with the foundation," Ferguson explained, gesturing to the base of the holographic pyramid. "Classical Bitcoin functions emerged from the dream of a trustless system, the idea that mathematics could eliminate the need for trust entirely, and for pure digital transactions, it nearly succeeded. The blockchain verified everything, making trust in counterparties supposedly unnecessary." He smiled wryly. "But even then, you had to trust the code, trust the miners, trust that quantum computing wouldn't break the encryption. Like that old Cold War protocol for spy exchanges, you meet in the middle of the bridge, both sides have their weapons trained. Every move is precisely choreographed. Yet there's still that moment of faith when you make the exchange, that microsecond where everything could go wrong." "The irreducible quantum of trust," Chen observed. "Exactly. So instead of maintaining the fiction of a trustless system, we evolved to embrace trust, but trust that could be quantified, verified, and tiered." Ferguson's voice took on the cadence of someone who had refined this explanation over decades. "At the foundation, we still have those basic functions: transaction verification, smart contracts, mathematical proofs of exchange. As you move up, you get enhanced features: reputation tracking, social capital measurements, arbitration services. Each tier requires more transparency, yes, but also offers more sophisticated ways of managing that irreducible element of trust that can never be eliminated entirely." As he spoke, the hologram evolved, showing the historical progression of the Bitcoin Republic from its origins shortly after the singularity. What had begun as a desperate attempt by Paul Ferguson and others like Steve Baloff to preserve some form of decentralized value exchange had transformed into the most sophisticated governance structure in the solar system, one built not on force or tradition, but on mathematically verified trust. Sort of like how physical cash required trust in the issuing government, Chen suggested, while Bitcoin required trust in the network. And now we've built an entire framework around understanding, measuring, and verifying different levels of trust, Ferguson concluded, from near trustless digital exchanges to the complete transparency of Uber notaries. But we never forget that core paradox. Even a trustless system requires trust in the system itself. A new figure materialized nearby, Satoshi's avatar, its form somehow both precise and ethereal. Unlike Ferguson's weathered appearance, Satoshi was ageless, a perfect embodiment of the immutable ledger itself. The beauty of the system, it said, lies not in forcing everyone to the same standard, but in allowing them to choose their level of engagement. While maintaining mathematical verification at every tier, Ferguson added. That's crucial. Whether you're at the base level conducting simple transactions or at the apex handling multi-faction arbitration, the blockchain ensures that whatever trust you've chosen to establish is absolutely verified. Energy and trust. Chen's neural interface buzzed as it processed the implications. But how do you handle interactions between tiers? If I'm operating at a higher transparency level than my counterpart, that's where the arbiters come in. Ferguson waved and the hologram expanded to show a network of connected nodes. We've developed an entire juridical class trained specifically in cross-tier arbitration. They understand how to verify trust across different privacy levels, how to maintain confidentiality while ensuring transparency where it matters. The display shifted to reveal the energy underpinnings of the entire system, streams of power flowing through the network, their patterns resembling neurons in a vast brain. This was the secret that had transformed Bitcoin from a mere financial tool into the backbone of an entire civilization. The understanding that energy, information, and trust were fundamentally the same thing, expressed in different forms. What most people still don't understand, Ferguson said, his voice dropping to an almost reverential tone, is that Bitcoin was never about money. It was always about energy transfer, about making energy itself fungible across time and space. When the singularity rendered traditional currency obsolete, we simply completed Bitcoin's evolution into what it was always meant to be, the fundamental protocol of energy exchange. Satoshi's avatar pulsed in agreement. The standard energy allocation guaranteed by the Constitution of Humanity provides the resource. Our blockchain provides the infrastructure to transfer, store, and verify that energy with perfect efficiency. Chen nodded slowly, pieces clicking into place. So the trust tiers aren't just about privacy and verification. They're about different levels of energy engagement. Precisely, Ferguson confirmed. Higher trust tiers grant access to more sophisticated energy manipulation capabilities. At the apex, our Uber notaries can facilitate energy transfers across vast distances with minimal loss, essential for interplanetary commerce and governance. And you oversee all of this? Ferguson's laugh was soft but carried a hint of weariness. I helped build it. The system mostly runs itself now, guided by the principles we established. My role is handling the edge cases, the real challenges. He paused, his expression growing more serious. The places where the tiers meet, where the shadows form, that's where things get interesting. Shadows? Chen leaned forward, intrigued. Every system of trust creates its own opportunities for exploitation, Satoshi's avatar interjected. The spaces between transparency levels are particularly fertile ground for innovation, both beneficial and otherwise. Ferguson nodded slowly. Which is why we're always evolving, always adapting. The blockchain doesn't just record trust, it learns from every attempt to game it. Practical trust. A chime sounded, and the observation deck's displays shifted to show a live arbitration in progress. 3 figures appeared, a Martian trade representative, her form shimmering with embedded ghost technology, a solar mining consortium leader, his avatar displaying mid-tier trust verification markers, and between them, one of Ferguson's Uber notaries, her presence radiating the unmistakable markers of absolute trust status. Watch, Ferguson said to Chen. This is where theory meets practice. The Martian spoke first, her voice carrying the distinctive harmonic overtones of her enhanced physiology. We seek verification of mineral rights in the asteroid belt sector 47. Our mining operations require absolute certainty. The consortium leader's avatar flickered slightly. We operate at Trust Tier 3. Our privacy protocols prevent complete transparency of our existing claims. Which is why they're here, Ferguson explained quietly to Chen. Cross-tier arbitration is essential for commerce between different factions. Notice how the Uber notary handles it. The notary's form remains steady, her absolute trust status allowing her to access and verify information at all levels. I can confirm the consortium's claims without compromising their privacy protocols, she stated. Through my office, binding verification can be established that satisfies both parties' requirements. Elegant, Chen murmured. She bridges the trust gap. Exactly. Ferguson gestured, and the scene shifted to San Salvador. The city's central district housed the massive verification engines, quantum computers dedicated to maintaining the blockchain's integrity across all tiers. Down there, we handle millions of basic transactions hourly. Up here at L5, we manage the higher tiers, the complex arbitrations, the evolution of the system itself. Satoshi's avatar moved through the display, its form interacting with the data streams. The beauty of the system lies in its adaptability. When the Cookists established their Australian sovereignty, they initially rejected all but the most basic verification tiers. But over time, they found they needed more, Ferguson finished. Started with basic transaction verification, but as their civilization grew more complex, they adopted higher tiers for specific purposes, always on their terms, always maintaining their independence, but recognizing the value of verified trust. Chen's neural interface captured every detail as a new group of figures materialized, representatives from various factions, each displaying different trust tier markers. A new Zionist elder operated at Tier 4, her commitment to transparency reflecting her community's values. A cosmic harmonian displayed the unique markers of synthetic consciousness, his trust verification protocols adapted for digital existence. A group of independent traders showed varying trust levels, their interactions mediated by blockchain protocols. Each finds their own balance, Ferguson said, watching the interactions. The Martians prefer high transparency in their commercial dealings but maintain privacy in their genetic programs. The Harmonians share vast amounts of data but keep their core consciousness protocols private. Every faction, every individual chooses their level of engagement. But the Uber notaries, Chen prompted, they maintain absolute trust in all things? Ferguson's expression grew more serious. They have to. At the apex of the system, there can be no shadows, no hidden corners. Every thought, every action, every quantum of data is recorded and verified. It's a hard path. Not everyone is suited for it. Including you, the shadows between. The Chief Justice smiled faintly. Especially me. The transition wasn't easy. Imagine having your entire life, your every decision, permanently etched into the blockchain. But that's what the highest level of trust requires. Complete surrender of privacy. Satoshi's avatar shimmered. Yet even this absolute transparency exists within a larger system of choice. The blockchain doesn't demand universal compliance. It provides universal verification for those who choose to engage at each level. The observation deck's lighting shifted subtly as Earth moved into eclipse behind them. In the dimmed light, Ferguson's expression grew more contemplative. There's something else you should understand, he said to Chen, something that doesn't make it into the official histories. Satoshi's avatar dimmed slightly, moving closer. The spaces between the tiers, Chen asked, between everything? Ferguson waved his hand, and the holographic display transformed, showing the complex web of trust relationships across the solar system. But now it highlighted the gaps, the places where different trust tiers intersected, where verification protocols met and sometimes clashed. Every system creates its own shadows, Ferguson continued, places where the rules bend without breaking. The blockchain verifies trust, yes, but it also learns from every attempt to game it. Watch. The display focused on a recent arbitration, a complex dispute between independent traders operating at different trust tiers. As their transaction protocols interacted, minute discrepancies appeared, nothing illegal but clever manipulations of the space between verification levels. Innovative, Chen observed. They're not breaking trust. They're exploiting its structure, Ferguson finished, finding ways to operate in the gaps between transparency levels. It's not corruption, it's evolution. The system adapts, learns, grows stronger from each attempt to circumvent it. Satoshi's avatar moved through the data streams. The blockchain's strength lies not in preventing such innovation, but in containing it. Every exploitation becomes part of the verification framework. But surely at the highest levels, Chen began. Even there. Ferguson's voice carried a hint of amusement. Perhaps especially there. The Uber notaries, myself included, operate with complete transparency. But that very transparency creates its own possibilities. When everything is verified, new patterns emerge. The display shifted again, showing the dense network of trust relationships emanating from San Salvador and L5. The Bitcoin Republic's dual capitals pulsed with activity, basic transactions and sophisticated arbitrations flowing seamlessly between trust tiers. This is why we maintain both, Ferguson explained. San Salvador grounds us in the physical world, in the basic human needs for trust and verification. L5 lets us expand, evolve, adapt to humanity's growing complexity. Together they create a system flexible enough to accommodate both stability and innovation. Even if that innovation sometimes challenges the system itself, Chen asked. Ferguson smiled. Especially then. The blockchain's greatest achievement isn't in preventing exploitation. It's in making exploitation part of its own evolution. Every shadow we cast becomes another facet of verified trust. Satoshi's avatar brightened slightly. The future lies not in eliminating the shadows, but in understanding them, in letting them teach us about the nature of trust itself. Beyond the ledger. The display showed one final image, the entire solar system connected by webs of trust, from the simplest transaction to the most complex arbitration. Different factions, different tiers, different levels of transparency all coexisting within the blockchain's verification framework. Remember this, Marcus, Ferguson said quietly. The blockchain doesn't guarantee perfect trust. It guarantees perfect verification of whatever trust people choose to establish. The rest, the shadows, the innovations, the constant push against boundaries, that's just humanity being human. Chen nodded slowly, his neural interface capturing these final insights. The Bitcoin Republic had created something remarkable, not a utopia of perfect trust, but a framework within which trust could evolve, adapt, and grow stronger from every challenge it faced. As Earth emerged from eclipse, bathing the observation deck in renewed light, Ferguson turned back to the window. Below, San Salvador's spires caught the dawn, while around them, L5's digital pulse continued its eternal rhythm. The Bitcoin frontier wasn't just a place or a system. It was an ongoing experiment in the nature of trust itself. I should introduce you to someone, Ferguson said suddenly, his tone shifting. A former trader named Steve Baloff. He operates in the spaces I've been telling you about, not breaking the system, but finding its edges. If you want to truly understand the Bitcoin Republic, you need to see how he navigates the shadows. A trader? What does he trade in a world without traditional markets? Ferguson's eyes twinkled. Oh, there are still markets, Marcus. They just deal in different currencies now. Information, reputation, possibility, and Baloff is a master at finding value where others see only noise. Is that legal? Chen asked, his journalistic instincts tingling. Legal? Ferguson chuckled. In the Bitcoin Republic, we don't think in those terms. Something is either verified or it isn't. The blockchain doesn't judge. It simply records. What Baloff does exists in a space between verification tiers, neither fully transparent nor completely hidden. It's those spaces that keep our system alive, that prevent it from becoming rigid and brittle. He gestured toward the door. Come, there's something else you should see. The shadows are deepening and new challenges are emerging. The system must evolve again. As they left the observation deck, Chen glanced back at the holographic display still showing the vast web of trust relationships spanning the solar system. In that intricate network, he now saw not just connections, but the spaces between them, the shadows where innovation lived and trust was constantly being redefined. The Bitcoin frontier was more than a place. It was humanity's endless exploration of what it meant to trust and be trusted in a universe where even certainty had its limits.